everybody, how's it going? It's Jamie, the crafty DIY guy. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am doing a collaboration with Liz, the official craft nerd, and we are doing a I got it, you got it challenge. Liz and I both shop at Dollar Tree. We both do Dollar Tree hauls, and I am pretty lucky with my Dollar Tree, I will say, and apparently Liz is pretty lucky as well. She gets a lot of the same stuff that I do at my Dollar Tree. So she's been a friend of mine for a while. We've known each other for a while, and she reached out to me and asked me to do this collaboration with her. So we came up with the name of I Got It, You Got It, and we are literally going to create DIYs for you today in this video with products that we both have on hand. We connected with each other via Zoom and on the cell phone the other night, and we literally looked at our each individual person's like stash, and we decided the items that we are going to be collaborating with today. So I'm going to show you all those items, and then we are going to jump into the video. And props to Liz. This was totally her idea. I am in love with it. I hope that she runs with it and does a ton of other collaborations with a bunch of other people, because it's a really cool concept. I mean, let's face it, it's a cool concept. All right, let's get into it. I got 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 it. That's because Liz reminded me that I needed to go got it. So I forgot it and I went and got it, and now I get it, and I did a DIY with it as well. I almost forgot it. All right, everyone, and for the first project, I'm going to be using this thankful sign that Liz also has on hand. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I love working with these signs. They are so versatile and they come apart so easily. They're really well made. It's kind of like having a picture frame. And they're super, super easy to redo and to flip around. So I'm going to remove the thankful words from my sign, even though, of course, I am thankful for all of you guys. And then I am going to end up covering that with some contact paper. I thought I was going to use this kind of blue and gray spotted one, but then I ended up switching it up a little bit. And you'll see that I end up going with a wood grain contact paper very, very soon here. Now I'm going to use some Arteza acrylic paint here. I did go ahead and sand down my my frame here just a little bit. And I've also got a Katch crafting mat down on top of my green board there. And what I love about this Katch crafting mat is that it literally helps catch everything that you might spill whenever you are working on a DIY project. Paint, stain, glue, anything like that that you might typically get on your desk or your work surface, you can easily remove it with the Katch crafting mat. So for my paint, I'm going to use this darker kind of a midnight blue navy on top of my frame there. And then I think this is the contact paper that I wanted to use initially. Well, it was the initial contact paper, but I am going to switch it out. So first thing I did was add a couple coats of my paint right on top of my frame. I just kind of dragged the brush until I got good coating, and I did do it on the front and the sides and just a little bit on the back, but I didn't really mess with too much of the back because, you know, it's going to sit down like the backside down, if that makes sense, and you're not going to really see it. And then for my actual piece that was the insert there, you can see where I'm just going to flip it over. And this, again, was the contact paper I was going to use, but I had some of this wood grain, and I had a piece of scrap that was going to be the perfect size. So I'm actually going to end up using this, and I think it'll look really cool with this faux leather ribbon that I finally found at Dollar Tree. I was so excited when I found it. When I found it, I had to go to North Carolina to find it. But I got 3 colors, and I'm super, super excited. So I literally just took that wood grain contact paper and just wrapped the backing of that frame just like you would do, or that insert to the frame, just like you might do a present. Just very, very simple. You could even do it on just one side if you wanted to. Totally up to you. It'll look like this when it's done. And then the frame is all dry and ready to go. So all I'm going to do is just insert that now wood grain looking insert right inside there. I did go ahead and finish that on both sides, and just because I had the extra contact paper and it was pretty easy to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and fit it back in there. It will add a little bit of thickness to it just because of the contact paper. So you may have to manipulate it and play around with it, kind of like I'm doing here. I ended up grabbing my screwdriver and kind of popping those little tabs out of the way. And then eventually everything came together and it looked really, really cool. Now for the next thing, I'm going to add this faux leather ribbon to it because I want to give the tray the illusion that it has leather handles. And to do that, all I'm going to do is cut some equal pieces of the faux leather ribbon, and then I'm going to glue them down on the back of the tray. Now, I initially started to glue this upside down, but then I realized what I was doing and I corrected it. And when it's all done, this is my tray. I am so thankful for this idea. It's a great tray for the bathroom to display little knickknacks and trinkets. I'm super, super happy with this one. All right, and for the next I Got It challenge item, we are going to be using these galvanized metal signs. I think Liz's might say something different. I don't know if hers has the house on the front of it like mine does, but it's definitely the same sign. First thing you're going to do is remove this house from the front of it. Definitely save that. You can use that for a future project really, really easily. The one thing about this is that I realized is that it is actually screwed onto that galvanized metal. So you will want to kind of chip away at that cardboard and remove that. And then I had these oversized letters that I picked up from Amazon, and I thought it might be cool to kind of do like a monogram thing. So I had an M that was already painted from a previous project. I had a welcome sign on my front porch at one time, and I kind of, using my craft stash and making something new. So I've got my M already painted, which is a great bonus. And I used that same blue paint that I used in the previous project. So now I'm just going to kind of chip away at that cardboard that was stuck onto that galvanized metal. And then you will notice that there are 2 screws that are holding that house kind of image on that galvanized metal piece. So once I removed those screws, it did leave 2 holes in the galvanized metal that I was going to have to deal with because unfortunately the M, you can't really hide that. I was hoping that I could take those 2 screws and use those to adhere the M back to that galvanized metal, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. So I figured out a way to fix it. So the first thing I did was grab some masking tape, and I'm going to apply it to the back of the galvanized metal sign right over where those holes are, because I do need to have something on that metal to kind of adhere or to keep my spackle. I'm actually going to use wall spackle to fill in that hole. So once I've got that all set up, then I'm just going to take my spackle here. I don't know if it's called spackle, but that's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it spackle. I am just going to use it to fill in those holes there. And I tried the finger approach, which giving it just a little bit of love at first, and it just wasn't working out. So I'm going to squirt a larger amount onto the hole itself. What I love about this stuff too is that it's pink, and when it's dried, it will actually be white. So it's really easy to know when it's dried, and it actually does dry really, really fast. You can kind of see even as I'm rubbing it in there, it is even starting to dry really, really quickly. I did take my heat gun to it and just kind of help speed it along. And then once everything was white, I actually took it outside and I spray painted it with a dark galvanized metal color. And this is kind of what it looks like. I really like the way this looks. I love that dark gray color, and I love the way it's going to look with that navy M on top of it. Now, before I add the M, I am going to go ahead and take my leather ribbon again, my faux leather ribbon, and I'm just going to create a handle where the previous kind of burlap was. I thought it would look nice with this leather, kind of faux leather ribbon here from Dollar Tree. And instead of feeding it through the holes and kind of creasing it, I just want to go ahead and take a piece and just kind of overlap it, kind of like I did with the handles on the tray itself. That way everything kind of blends and really goes well together. And as you can see, I'm just taking a little bit of Surebonder hot glue and just literally kind of going around the edge of that hole and just gluing my ribbon down. It held perfectly fine. And then I did decide to embellish it. I was looking for like some thumbtacks or something very simple, and I didn't have any on hand, so I actually had some of these fashion gems from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to grab 2 of the gold ones that seem to be the most kind of basic color, if you will. I probably should have used silver, but I kind of like the way the gold looks too. And all I'm going to do is glue those down in the center there, just making sure that they stay put. And then for the M itself, I am going to go ahead and add some hot glue. And this is an all-purpose hot glue. This is going to be indoors, so this is going to hold perfectly fine for me. You could definitely screw your initial onto that galvanized metal very, very easily. Maybe you'll even get lucky and not have to plug up the holes like I did on mine. So I just kind of held that in place, and then once it was dry, I had a great monogrammed little sign for my house. I put this in my craft room, actually, and I love the way it looks. I think it's so simple, and it's just a fun way to revamp one of those Dollar Tree galvanized metal signs. And the next I got it, you got it item were these peel and stick tiles that you can pick up at Dollar Tree. I decided to use 2 of those and one of these crafters or one of these cutting boards, and then this round or oval disc. I think this might have been Crafter Square, but now that I'm looking at that tag on it, I think it may have actually come from Michael's. But I do know that this relax sign came from Crafter Square, so we're going to be using those materials for this one. So the first thing I did was take my relax sign and I actually took it off of the base. And then I did cut it in half, and here I've already cut it in half and I'm just kind of trying to even it out. I don't know what I did with my tiny little saw, and I don't think it would have gone through this anyway because I think that this material is a little thick for it. But I did use my handsaw, and as you can see, it worked out pretty good. And then for the oval piece, I'm actually going to score that and kind of give me a straight line. I'm just going to use this piece of scrap wood just to do that. I don't know where my ruler went either. And I'm literally going to take this little tiny handsaw that I picked up from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to be very, very, very patient and just slowly cut this down. And then when I did finish cutting it, I just kind of sanded it a little bit with my hand sander, which I did find. And I was able to get it pretty straight and pretty smooth. So that worked out nicely. Now for the cutting board, I am going to take some Dollar Tree sandpaper, and I'm just going to go around the edges of the board itself, just making sure that everything is nice and smooth in that bamboo. So when we do take that tile and stick it to it, everything is going to be adhering nicely. And then for the kind of front facing part of the bamboo tray or the bamboo cutting board, I did go ahead and also sand that down with that same sandpaper. And then I'm going to pull out my onyx stain. This is this Minwax Express color stain that I love so much. It's water-based. It cleans up so easy. I'm going to squirt some on my hand again here, and I'm going to make a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. I added some to my rag after I cleaned up my hands, and I just went around the edges and part of the face of the cutting board. And then for those 2 smaller wood pieces, that oval piece that I cut in half, and then the base of that relax sign that I cut in half, I'm also going to just use that Minwax stain on those. And, it looks like it's a little messy. I could certainly wear gloves if I wanted to, but I have to tell you, some pink soap or something very simple like that will totally remove all of this stain. It comes out of your hands and your fingernails and everything really easy. I'm super impressed with it. Now that everything is dry, it is time to go ahead and start assembling everything. I'm going to take my smaller sign, the kind of the base from the relax, and I'm going to actually glue it to my half oval. I'm kind of creating a sconce, and what I'm going to do is have those 2 pieces glued together. I'm using wood glue that is made by Surebonder, and I'm just going to set those aside, let those harden. And then for the tiles themselves, I did use my paper cutter, and I just cut it down to where it was the approximate size of the cutting board itself. Now, you can see that it's not quite long enough to completely cover the cutting board, but that's okay because I do have another piece of tile that I can just snip off a little piece there and just kind of match it up. And I did that with a little bit wider piece. I actually grabbed, I think it was 3 or 4 squares worth of this tile and just kind of split it right down there using my paper cutter again. And then I just lined it up, and it's not going to matter because that's actually where that little shelf that we're making is going to go. So any of the excess tile, I'm going to go ahead and just trim away using my little X-Acto knife also from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to make sure that I have a nice clean edge and that everything is super smooth. And then once that's done, it is time to go ahead and start adding the sign itself, or the shelf. Why did I say the sign? The shelf to our kind of blinged out sconce here. Now for this, I'm actually doing two different applications. I'm going to be doing some hot glue, as you see here, and I'm going to use that initially to just stick everything down and to hold it into place. And then once that is dry, I flipped it over and I used some carpenter nails, or some small finishing nails, and just nailed directly through that bamboo cutting board right into that shelf piece, and it held it in place so perfectly. It was great and super, super easy to do. And then when that was all done, I just added a simple hardware hook onto the back of this. It's like a picture hanger hook, and I had the cutest little sconce for my succulents or for any other kind of knick-knacky thing. I think that these are super, super fun and very, very easy to make. Now the next challenge item is nautical rope, which is the part that I almost forgot. And I went out and got it. Thank God my Dollar Tree did have some nautical rope. I'm also going to grab 3 of these Crafter Square boxes. And then I had this welcome sign left over from the fall that I am going to use. What I love about this particular sign is the exact width of those Crafter Square crates that I picked up. So this is going to work out very, very nicely for this project. I am going to go ahead and remove the burlap. As you can see, I removed the welcome sign from the front. Just go ahead and pull out any of those staples, and then thank God for Crafter Square and these particular labels, because they come off very, very easily. I am going to go ahead and get these stained. To do that, I'm going to be using that Minwax stain again. This is the color changer, and I believe, I can't really see what this one is called. I think this is kind of the walnut color. And again, love this so much. So easy to do, so easy to use. I did the outside as well as the inside of the crates, but I'll give you a little secret. I didn't do the back side of the crate that's going to be screwed down to that sign, because there wasn't really any need to do that one. Don't make it harder on yourselves, folks. All right, so after I had everything set up and stained and it was dry, then it was time to go ahead and start adhering it to the sign itself. And speaking of the sign, I did paint it black outside. I just used some black spray paint in a matte finish. And then, as you can see, those crates are the perfect size for it. I love these so, so much. So I just took a crate and just kind of figured out where I wanted it placed. And then I took my screwdriver there and just kind of scored a line across the bottom of the sign there, just so I know exactly where to put that crate. And then I'm going to take my drill and I'm going to drill 2 pilot holes into the back of the sign. And then I'm going to add 2 screws. You can see right through Mr. Scarecrow's belly. And I am going to adhere those little crates to the sign itself. Since I am going to be using this for storage, I did want something that was going to be a little bit more sturdier than hot glue. This is also kind of designed to hang on the wall. If you wanted to not hang this on the wall, you could make sure that your first crate was on the bottom of the sign, and then it would give it a nice kind of stand to be able to do. For the screws themselves, they went through really, really easily, and you'll see that my screws were a little bit too long, but I just added some electrical tape over top of the screws themselves, and it was totally fine. It was not going to end up cutting me or anything like that. Speaking of cutting, I also took 4 pieces of nautical rope. I bet you guys thought I forgot about the challenge item. And I cut 4 pieces into equal lengths. Then I'm going to take the nautical rope and just tie a knot at the end of 4 pieces of those. Those are going to serve kind of as like, it's going to give the illusion that these are hanging shelves. And that knot is actually going to be glued to the kind of the board itself, and then the other end of that rope is going to be glued inside of the crate. So it looks like that they are kind of suspended. And by the way, I haven't added the electrical tape to that lower one yet, or to this top one yet, but I do it before I put my product in there. So once I've got the rope kind of all set up here and ready to go, it's time to start gluing. Because those crates have those little indentions and those lines across the front of them, they are the perfect way to kind of measure where you need to put your rope. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some hot glue in there, and then just using my little pointer finger, I'm going to hold that rope into place until it dries. Don't worry, it did not get burned, although it looks like there was some glue. Glue strings are everywhere, and not to worry, I'm going to take care of those also. So as you can see, now I've got the knots glued down, and then I had these crafters square kind of wood cutouts. These are not considered the challenge item because I have a challenge item for laser cutouts coming up next. But I did want to kind of embellish my sign. I didn't know if I wanted to put these on the crate themselves or just do something instead at the top. I opted with something at the top, and I just awkwardly zoomed in there. Sorry about that. And I did double up 2 of those crosses. That way it just looked a little thicker and a little beefier. And on the back side of it, I used my secret trick. I love doing this. I take nautical rope and I simply hot glue it to the back of whatever I'm doing. And then I take some masking tape, and while that glue is still hot, I will add the masking tape to it, and I have fantastic hold results with this. And now you can see what this looks like when it's hanging on the wall. I put some product in it. I put my scrub brush in there. Another awkward camera angle. Sorry about that, guys. And as you can see, I really, really love this. Okay, full transparency. This is in my craft room right now because my bathroom was a mess and I couldn't film in there, but I think you get the idea here. I really love the way this looks. It really holds a lot of stuff. Those little crates are pretty deep, and I've got all of my product, my kind of daily regimen, if you will, in here, and it's all ready to go. Right, everyone, and for the last project, I'm going to be using these leaf wood laser cutouts. My dirty fingers, one of these wood blocks that I had left over, I think from a Michael's haul, and then some of these bamboo skewers. First thing we're going to do is drill a hole in the center of that wood block, and I'm going to try and get it as straight as possible. Not really something I'm familiar with. And I am going to just go ahead and make sure that that hole is big enough to hold that bamboo skewer in there in the center. And as you will see, it works just fine. I did go ahead and add a little bit of hot glue in the center of that just to help hold that bamboo skewer in place. Once everything was good and dry, then I took the other bamboo skewer pieces and started cutting them up into smaller pieces to build a tree for our leaves. Now, to build the branches on the tree itself, I am going to take those bamboo skewers and I'm cutting them at a slight angle. And if you think about the way that branches kind of grow on a tree, you know, some grow out straight, some grow out a little crooked, some are kind of in between. And all I'm literally doing is just kind of eyeballing this and just kind of creating what I think looks like a kind of a cool tree. And as I'm doing this, I'm going up and getting taller and taller. And, you know, I trim down the branches some and just kind of figure out what looks best to me. And then for the actual branches themselves, I did add some extra hot glue just to make sure that everything was good and solid. And then again, eyeballing it, seeing if I needed to add another branch, obviously making sure that it's not too top heavy, that way it doesn't flop over. And then I'm going to begin adding in my leaves. Now for the leaves themselves, all I'm going to do is just use those branches to my advantage. I'm literally just going to add a little bit of hot glue on the back of them, kind of hold them into place without burning my fingers, and there you've got some leaves growing on your tree. I decided to go with these 2 different types of leaves because I didn't have enough leaves to just do the same leaf on all of the tree. So now I have a hybrid tree. Now I will say, you saw that it just flipped over there, and it does get a little bit heavier. So if you can use a larger block, I would definitely recommend that for sure. Or make your branches smaller. Now I ended up adding another piece of wood to this, as you will see, and it kind of worked out perfectly, and I think it still turned out really, really cute. So after you've got all of your branches and your leaves all set, then we can, and then my fingers glued to that tree, now that it's released, and I can finish the other leaves. Now I'm going to take it outside after everything is dried and spray paint it a very cool and different color. And once everything dried, you can see here where I added that extra base. Now, everything in my home has some metallic accents to it, so I wanted to continue that. So I'm using this metallic Rust-Oleum. It's kind of like a dark steel color. And again, I love this. It's like a steel Christmas tree, or like a steel, well, it's not really a Christmas tree. I guess it's a steel tree. And again, love the way this looked. I think it looks so cool on my bookshelf, especially sitting next to that globe. And it just kind of fits in. It's that fun pop of color and that kind of unique, kind of knick-knacky piece of art that you have. And it's definitely a conversation piece. I'm super, super happy with it. And I'm also super happy with this challenge that my friend Liz created. Liz, thank you so much for reaching out and wanting to collaborate with me. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I cannot wait to see your projects, which will be linked in the description box below. So be sure to check her out. I know you thought I forgot, but of course I want to say thank you before we end this video to all of my subscribers, my long-term subscribers. Thank you guys so much. You know I appreciate you so much for being here. If you are a newer subscriber, of course, thank you as well. I hope that you are enjoying everything and that you're looking at some of those old videos and hopefully seeing some improvement. If YouTube recommended this video to you and maybe you're checking out the channel for the first time, hopefully you will stick around and become a subscriber as well. Again, thank you guys so much. I hope that you enjoyed today's videos and today's projects. Check out Liz too. She's cool.